Hello and welcome. Let me share my screen here with you guys. And let me pull that up. Okay. I'm gonna hide this share. Okay, let's get started here. Tonight, I'm going to shoot a quick video here on how to vibe code. We're just going to do a to-do list app, and we're going to do it in, I was thinking about Cursor, but I think we're going to do it in Antigravity and show you guys how to use that. But to start this project, we're going to start it in Android Studio, and let me explain why. Um, what Android Studio is it'll allow us to use a program called uh, Flutter to write it in Flutter, and that's Dart extensions, D-A-R-T. The advantage of Dart is when it writes it, it'll write the code for an app in Android and iOS for iPhone, and also web-based Chrome. You can actually do a Mac-based app as well, and lots of other options. So let's go ahead and get started. So you open up Android Studio, and then we choose up here, New Flutter Project is what we want. And this, we're going to choose Flutter over here on the left, choose Next, okay? This is important because it has to be lowercase. We're going to call this to-do list 2 because we've already done one. And down here, you can pick the different environments that you want to write this for. We don't need to write it for Mac OS or Linux and or Windows. We'll just write it for web so we can test it in Chrome, iPhone, and Android. The nice thing about the Android Studio is it's got all these emulators built in, so we can test it on a Google Pixel 9 Pro. We can test it on an iPhone 16, and we can obviously test it in Chrome. So once we do that, it's automatically going to create the folders for us. I guess we already did that. What do I say? No, let's call it 3. I guess I already did 2. All right, there it goes. It's going out there and it's building the folder structure for us. And then we're going to go into anti-gravity. So this right here, what it does is it builds all the folder structure. And then it also builds, you'll see here, it'll build this test file here um, called main.dart. Don't get that confused with the actual application. This is in every Flutter file. It's a demo. It's just a little push button app that is it just counts 1, 2, 3, 4 every time you hit the button. It's kind of like their version of Hello World. So let's go over here. Um, let's see. Over here, let's go ahead and start anti-gravity. Okay. Now we're going to open the folder that we just created. Okay, so I store that here. Here's our to-do list 3. Okay. All right. And we're going to switch to Agent Manager, which is the first thing that we always do. Let's see. This is basically saying I went over my quota limit here for Opus. So I'm going to have to select another model, which I can use the Google Gemini 3. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to want to open the Agent Manager here in Anti-Gravity. So that's just Command E. By the way, I'm running a MacBook Pro M5 for those of you at home. Okay, we're going to have to change the model. So let's go ahead and just change it to high. We'll see if we get enough tokens to run it on this. As you can see on the Opus 3, I'm out of other tokens. It says for about 2 more days. So let's go over here. This is very important, by the way. This is a bug. I don't know any other way to say it, but in anti-gravity, this thing will say start a new conversation with AG Opus. This is the last thing I was in. I just did an open folder, but it defaults you to the last one that you were in, which I just think is stupid. it really should default you to the folder that you just opened. It makes no sense. So what we'll do is we'll come over here in this ag opus, which I want to close, right? I want to close that. And now by default, you only want to have your workspace that you've just created over here, right? And so now all we got to do over here is basically tell it in the planning phase what we want. So we will do this, and let's tell it to, all right, build an app for Android, iOS, Chrome that is a to-do list, right? Let us save templates. Okay. And create a demo template called tailgating. I like to tailgate for the Jags games. So, demo template called tailgating. Okay. And fill it out with tailgate supplies. Out with tailgate supplies. Okay. Let's see. Let us add and delete items to our to-do list. All right, what else should we have on here? Let's see, what else do we want? Include other fields. That you deem necessary for a to-do list app. Okay. Ask me questions before you build. Okay, so there we go. That's our prompt. And all we're going to do, we're in the planning phase. As you can see, we're in the Gemini 3 Pro. I wonder if we'd do better if we just did the low. Let's try the low out of curiosity. I'm just assuming that my tokens will go further. So let's see more, how much speed that it takes off by going in the slow mode. Kind of curious. I normally just program in the high mode. So build an app, Android, iOS, Chrome, that is a to-do list. Let us save templates and create a demo template called tailgating and fill it out with tailgate supplies. Let us add and delete items to our to-do list, include other fields that you deem necessary for a to-do list app. Ask me questions before you build this. Okay, let's see how it looks. Okay, there we go. See the speed. I'm kind of interested to see. There it goes, analyzed. It's got the folder. And then what's going to happen is this will build that in the folders that we created within the Android Studio. There it is. It's updating the task items. Okay. And you can see it's creating tasks. Oh, you know, one thing it did, it didn't ask me any questions. It's going to build this, I think. Oh, nope, it did it. There we go. One. Oh, I didn't tell it to do Flutter, and it saw that, so that's good. Uh-oh. Hopefully, I'm not crashing here. Don't remember seeing that on the high. So I don't know if that's because I chose the Gemini Pro low. Okay, so tech stack. Shall I stick with Flutter? Yes. State management. 2, don't care. 2, we'll do RiverPod. We'll go ahead since we've done it in the past. Hive. That's just saying the local database. Now, if you were to write this in an app, you could use like the Google Cloud Suite, which would be like a Firebase. That's really nice because it has the authentication built in for you, where you can choose the Google login, Facebook login, Microsoft login, email login, right? It kind of does a security sled for you. The other nice features about it is it can store the database fields in Firebase. And then another field or another section called Firestore, I believe, and that's where you store your PDFs. So if you were going to do an online database, that's what it'd look like. But we're just going to stick with Hive, which will just be like a local environment here. Template features for the tailgating template. Do you need specific fields besides item name? Who's bringing it? Besides item name. Yeah, just come up with a traditional list. We'll tell that, see how well it does on that. Kind of curious. 5 design. Oh, that's true. I didn't really give it a design. So sure, we'll try the gradient lush. All right. I don't have a clue what that'll look like, but let's give it a shot. Okay. Functionality. It's got a functional question for us. Should the tailgating be read-only list that you copy to a new active list, or yeah, read only that is uh read no editable that you copy to an active list. Okay. There you go. Editable. Okay, so that answers all those questions. Now I think we're ready to build. Let's see what it does. So while it's doing that, I'm actually curious. So it's going through there. Let's look up something here. Okay. Difference in Gemini 3 high versus low. Maybe I should tell anti-gravity. Okay. It's faster. It's weird. It basically low's cheaper. I would assume the low quality won't be as good, but for this app, maybe it won't matter. I mean, it's pretty straightforward app. So look at that. The Gemini 3 High provides a deeper, more reasoned, but slower response for complex tasks, while low is optimizes speed and costs, making it ideal for high volume tasks or something probably easy. I would think this would almost qualify as easy. Let's go back and see how it's running. Okay. I don't know if I'm getting that like spinning wheel. I don't ever remember seeing that, before on the traditional, on the Gemini 3 Pro High. So it's going out there and it's getting the dependencies, which we've ran RiverPod before, so that shouldn't be a problem. Um, some other neat things that you can do with anti-gravity is where it automates your browser. You can go out there and you can download the anti-gravity plugin for Google Chrome. That's really handy. And maybe when we get done later, I'll show you what that looks like. It's pretty neat. You can tell it to go test itself, right? So it'll build an app, and it'll actually pull up the Chrome, and you'll notice a blue bar around it, and when you see that blue bar, it means it's got control of the browser. Um, I think that's just the beginning for Google Gemini as far as like browser agents, because you're gonna be able to do some pretty cool stuff. Let's say you're going to New York City for your cousin's wedding and you need to rent a tux, you gotta get a hotel, yada, 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 yada. I think you're gonna tell your browser in the future, "Hey, I'm going to New York, go scour plane tickets. I'm going this date, but I'm kind of flexible, right? When I fly in and fly out, I just gotta be there on Saturday and Sunday for my cousin's wedding, right? I need a tuxedo." Um, and it scours the internet and it does it via an automated browser, right? And it comes back and it just gives you all these different options that you can then go and book, right? It'll go get your car, your hotel. It'll learn your proximities that you want to stay to places. It'll learn your tendencies. Like, I'm a Hampton Inn guy. Everywhere I go, I just want to stay at Hampton Inn, right? Pretty much. So I could put in there in my instructions whenever I'm looking for a hotel, just grab me a hotel room at Hampton Inn. Here's my club, and that'd be about it. So let's see how we're doing here over here. Still generating stuff. I almost think this is slower. It's weird that Gemini High says it's faster. I'm not sure about that. I think this part would have been, but maybe I complicated it by telling it to do the tailgating template. I mean, so now one big difference in that I've noticed between like cursor and anti-gravity is, with the cursor, you can always go in there and see your token usage. So you kind of go in there and you do an app like this, and then I could go in and I could look through it for that billing for that day, and I could see how much I spent on tokens. I shot a video yesterday, and what I did was I did the exact same thing, um, using Auto and Cursor, which, I think their default's like Composer. I think that's their own brand, and then I used Opus 4.5 and GPT 5.2, and just to see the price differences. Ironically, the best one, so what I would do is I give it a prompt that said, "Hey, go out to Just Digital, build my homepage exactly like Just Digital's," right? Because that's my website. And I wanted to see how much each one cost, right? And how close it came. Ironically, of the three, the cheapest one was the best for quality. It came to like 64 cents for a homepage. It was like 20% of the cost of Opus 4.5. Opus 4.5 was the second best, but Auto nailed it, right? I mean, it was like dead on. And then in last place was GPT 5.2. All it would do was the fave icon. I'm not sure on that, what happened. So, um, yeah, the 5.2, I just couldn't get it to run. I tried it for like 20, 25 minutes and I just ran out of time. So right here, let's go back to what's going on here. Um, says it's progress updates. It's running the build to generate the Hive adapters. The Hive adapters is the local database that's going to run on. So looks like it's setting up all that structure here. You'll notice it's actually talking to the terminal for me. This is nice too because it's automatically accepting all this stuff on, for this agent mode that I'm running this in. Uh, by now, Claude Code, you can set that up to where it'll automatically, answer yes and run it. Um, I haven't really figured out how to do that yet in Cursor. It's always prompting me in Cursor. So there we go. You'll notice that was the main.dart. That'll be the main file that we'll want to hit the play button once we find it. Okay, let's see here. It took us there. It failed to update packages. Okay. Uh, you'll notice that's set to always proceed. That's a default setting when you set up anti-gravity. It'll ask you how do you want to handle these errors, and basically I've told it just to always proceed. I'm not building anything yet that's I want to stop every time we have a problem. So it's having a problem with the Hive adapters, but it's still working here. Files edited here. You can see what it's working on. The main.dart, which is basically to run the app, the to-do list, and to do items. I would assume that would be like your tailgating. Here we go. We're getting a little closer here. Let's see. Looks like we're getting pretty close. So implementing the UI screens. So it's going for the colors that we asked for and the design style, the UI. Now, you could have given it here, you could have uploaded a design that you wanted it to look like as well. So if you would have done something in like Figma or something like that and came up with a design, or I like to mess around with in Google Nana Banana and kind of come up with some UI designs there. Okay. If anybody's got any questions, you can put them over there in the comments, and I'd be happy to answer them for you guys. By the way, Anti-Gravity just came out in middle of November, so it's still relatively new. And then if you don't see the Anti-Gravity tool, by the way, if you're an admin on your Google Workspace account, there is some settings that you'll have to set so that you can get like beta tools and things that aren't quite ready for production. Oh, I think it just crashed. Oh my gosh. That's wow. Holy cow. Look at that. The current conversation was just deleted. I, I. That was the first time I've seen that. Never seen it crash like that. I don't know if that had to do with the Gemini 3 Pro low or the high not being selected. I can't believe it lost the whole chat. That's kind of weird. Well, there it is, right? Looks like it was having problems with the Hive. Okay, let's go. Okay, let's tell it to continue working on it and see if it remembers. And if you are having a problem with Hive, choose something else. Okay, and let's go here and let's change that to Pro. Let's see what it says. So that's pretty interesting. Oh, it says it's already focused on it. So it lost the chat though. Okay, so I did switch it to Pro, right? And so that's pretty weird. So let's see if it catches up. Pro definitely runs a little better. What's weird too is so my computer was running, it was doing a lot more processing work, I think. It sounded like all my fans were on and everything else when I was running in low. And now that I've switched to high, um, it seems to have backed off on the processing power. I'm not sure if that was just a coincidence or that's a real thing. So, but here we go. So you can see it's creating the Dart files again. Okay, now it says over there it's debugging. Found some syntax errors on the main.dart and verifying functionality. Says it's running static analysis, preparing web verification. It's Flutter analyze. So I might have to, oh, by the way, I have just the Google workspace. It's like a $16 account. I might have to upgrade to the Ultra account. They've got that special going on for like 90 days where it's like half price. Um, I've been starting to run out of tokens because I've been using Antigravity more. And so since I've been using Antigravity, I ran out of tokens for the first time like last night. But I've been using a lot every day. So, um, I wish they had something like Cursor does where it's like you have X amount of tokens left, right? Or doing this costs this kind of amount of tokens. Okay. So over there, it looks like it's moved on to another to-do provider.dart file. I probably shouldn't have had it do the template. I think the tailgating template, I probably made it from a tiny app to much bigger because it's taken a lot longer than I've seen previously. So, hey, thanks for tuning in. I see a couple of you on there. So, if you guys got any questions, let me know. We're just what we're building is a to-do list here using Anti-Gravity, Google's new product, and we're just vibe coding. And what happened was we had it crash when we did the Hive, which is the local database. So we originally tested it in Gemini 3 low, and we ended up switching it back to Gemini 3 Pro high. So to go over so far, what we did was we created the folder structure inside. I'll show you guys inside uh, Android Studio here. So what we did was we created this to-do list 3, and it created all the folders. Then you go into Anti-Gravity, and you tell it to open that. One thing that you got to be careful of when you go into Anti-Gravity, and I spoke about this earlier, was it defaults and keeps your last workspace open, and you don't want to do that. You have to close your last workspace after you open your new folder. It's really stupid. I hope they fix that with Anti-Gravity. But right now what we're doing is, oh, hey. Oh, hey. Nice to see you, on the chat there. Yes, anti-gravity is pretty addictive. So, do you have the anti-gravity? Are you using it with your workspace account, or do you have the higher end bundle, like the Ultra? Do you got the Ultra bundle or workspace? I spend like 16 bucks on mine. So it's pretty cool. I'll tell you what I think. I think they're gonna pass Cursor eventually, right? I mean, right now, you can kinda tell they're not where Cursor is, but they're gonna get there. I mean, it's Google. Look how far Gemini's gone compared to GPT-3. Oh, you got Pro. Cool. Normal Google account. Yeah, pros work great for me. I barely ran out of tokens. Oh, just so you know, when you run out of your pro tokens, it doesn't run you out of your Opus 4.5 tokens. So you can then switch to Opus 4.5. So, but you can also get the Ultra 3 or the Ultra package. I think it's half price for your first 90 days. So if you want to bump that up, if you really want to dig into a bunch of anti-gravity. Some of the other things that I've done with anti-gravity, just so you know, um, is just some real basic apps. I'm gonna do some anti-gravity stuff next week if you wanna tune in to where I'm gonna do, some Google Cloud stuff where it's the Firebase. I don't know if have you done Firebase yet? Have you connected that yet to it? Let's see. Has anybody out there done Firebase yet? Done any authentication? Or have you just been doing local SQL? Let's see. Oh, it's asking me a question over here. Um, okay, so Firebase, let me tell you a little bit about that since we got time while this is running. So you'll eventually get to the point, and I'm going to do some lives coming up next week, probably with Firebase. I'm probably going to have to get the Ultra package because I'm going to run out of tokens. Um, oh, yeah, you're just running local. So with the Firebase, so if you want to build, I'll tell you what, Cursor, anti gravity, this is gonna mint your first billionaire with people that don't know how to code with anti-gravity or Cursor. So, what you're gonna see is people are gonna start getting rich off of this thing. But what's critical, if you ask me, is that you know Firebase. So, with Firebase, it handles your authentication, right? So, that'll handle all your logins. So, you let Google handle the security sled, right? And then it'll handle all your database work, all your fields, right? That's Firebase. And then you got Firestore, which is where you put all your PDFs, right? That's everything you need to build any kind of app that you want. I was messing around with my buddy and we were building a new application last weekend in Cursor, and we spit out about 61 different programs in Cursor that it just ran for hours. And I was an IT director for like the last 30 years. And 5 years ago, that would have cost us like $250,000 in labor on what Cursor did. It was incredible. I mean, you guys have such a great opportunity to become rich. This is like the modern gold rush, and it's all right here between anti-gravity, Cursor, Claude Code. These are going to make you guys rich, right? If anyone out there is motivated and you want to get rich, you've got it right here in front of you with anti-gravity, Cursor, Claude Code, right? Replit. The list goes on and on. It's incredible. It's an incredible time to be alive. So let's see how this thing's going. This has been slow. So for those of you just joining us, we're writing a to-do list in anti-gravity. Okay, there's a question. I'm just starting with Flutter. I've experience with web for a few years. What should be the ideal path? Oh, context of Flutter. Head first. Oh, you got pro. Okay. Well, I would start out with I made some real simple videos and then you'll wanna go right into Firebase, right? So and then to host, just so you guys know, like, my website and stuff, so I did my website in V0, so this is different than apps, right? So, my website was done in V0, which is and then I host it on a Vercel network. Vercel owns V0. So, Vercel and Cloudflare are edge networks, okay? Those are super fast. So, you got that kind of web-based stuff, and now you got apps. Okay, so let's talk about apps for a second. That's what I use is Flutter, okay, which is an add-in inside Android Studio, and I'll show you that here, okay? Right here is Android Studio, and how we started this was we said, "Create" there was a new and it said Flutter project, and the reason I use Flutter is because Flutter lets you use it creates an Android app for you, an iOS app for you, and it also creates like a Chrome app, a Windows app, a Mac app, all doing it one time, right? Whereas if otherwise you have to write it in Xcode for iOS, you have to write it in all these other things. The neat thing about Android Studio, and I have a Mac, I'm running an M5 Mac, um, is that you can run this Android Studio on here, load Xcode. You'll see that that's down here. I don't really run it. It just emulates though. So once this is done, it's got built-in emulators here, and you can see this on the drop down, right? I can choose Chrome, or I can load an emulator like this Pixel 9 Pro, and I'll show you that as soon as this is done. And you can test it on all your different phones, your different Android operating systems, right? Um, but to go back to your question, some environmental context of Flutter or head first. I would, you need to know how to load Flutter is the big thing, and that's probably the most difficult thing. It's easiest to load it on a Mac. It's a little bit more convoluted on a Windows PC as far as Flutter goes. But do you get any other questions on that? Anybody else got any questions for me while you're out there while we're letting this thing code? Stuck it. Oh, it says it's implemented. Here, let's see it. I think it's done. Okay, so all right, let's see this. Next step. Okay, so now we should be able to go. Okay, so we coded it in anti-gravity. Now we should be able to go back to our Android Studio and let's see if any of this is here. Okay, let's go try. Okay, just a second. Sorry. I'm just looking for some of the Flutter stuff. I'm going to tell it to go launch itself. Uh, I'm going to tell it. Here's something interesting. Just one second. I'm going to tell it test with the automated browser. Okay. This should launch Chrome and then launch a blue bar around it on paper. Okay, begin testing setup. Okay, there it goes. So it's creating port 3000 for us. I'm gonna answer questions here. Environment setup, where do you go? I have experience in React. Oh, oh, Flutter or React Native. I see. I didn't have that problem because I didn't have a bunch of experience in React Native. So I've just been the reason I like Flutter is it's owned by Google, right? And so here's the way I look at it. Google owns Antigravity, it owns Flutter, it owns the Android Studio, it owns most of my environment. Firebase is going to own that, right? So here it is. So you can see the browser. It's automatically. By the way, this is just a plugin. There it is. That's pretty cool. Um, so this, by the way, is this blue bar around it. This is a plugin that you get for anti-gravity that you can add into Chrome. And then you just tell it to automate itself and to test. So here we go. Oh, agents running. Controls are disabled. I forgot. So that's the reason I go with Flutter though, is because it's all owned by Google. So there it goes. You open it up. I'm a Jacksonville Jaguars fan, so that's the reason I have this on my reminders app on my iOS. It's pretty close to this actually, except I probably got do I got yeah, you got charcoal, you got the grill, you got your propane. It's not that far off. I just have a template that I always reload for every Jags home game. But to answer your question, I go with Flutter because it's Google, right? And I keep everything in the Google environment. So I've got Firebase running in my environment. I use the Google Cloud. I always feel like it's better. I used to have a college professor. I went to Purdue University, and I always had a college professor that said, uh, "You want an SPF, right? Where you kind of blame Google for if anything goes wrong, I'm just blaming Google. It's kind of a single point of failure, really. If something goes wrong, it's Google's fault, right? I'm not going to react. It's everything's owned by Google, right? So Google's to blame if something really goes haywire. So I feel like I'd rather be in that kind of ecosystem where it's all one place, right? And I can point the finger at one culprit, which would be Google. And overall, they've done a great job. Their Firebase is amazing. I mean, it's just fabulous. Um, to have that authentication that they have, and then because then you can choose, I want Google logins, Facebook logins, Microsoft logins, right? And then you got the database there, and you got the Firestore there, which for your PDFs. I just like having the whole ecosystem in one thing. So, sorry, I'll read some more of your questions over here. Uh, oh, Linux Mint. Yeah, that's a tough one. I'm in Macs, so that's makes it easy for me. I just keep everything in the Mac world, which is for me just fits Google perfect. So let's see down here we got okay, I guess you're answering their question. There we go. Okay, so hey, by the way, while we were talking, it's got this done. So, or is it still in? There we go. New list. Okay, so this is I'm just curious how this will work. Jags game, right? We'll do create. Or does this automatically? So you go into it. Let's see. Grill, right? There we go. Uh, let's see, hamburgers. Curious how that template works. Okay. Okay, so let's go back. So what I told it originally to do in the prompt, I'm not sure if you guys were on, but I told it, I was like, create a template, right? That we could, I see what it's doing. So over here, it looks like you're copying the template. Yeah, there it is. It's got an active one. That's actually pretty cool. So it's got this, we probably want to hide this. We wouldn't want it on the main thing. But what I told it to do was, so I use iOS reminders, and in that it's got templates, and I've got one for tailgating. So when I go tailgating, I click it, it automatically creates 13 active items for me. Or when we go fishing, it'll create that for me. But I did basically the same thing here. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. So oh, the check boxes don't work. Doesn't let you check off. It lets you, let's see if it lets you, I'll let you delete them. So we would go back through and tell it to fix that. Okay. So, all right, let's go back now and let's test the Android app. So that tested okay. I'm gonna ask it, where is the main.dart file? So you always need to know where the main.dart files are, is what I think he created. File for Android. Located at, and then I can go run it in the emulator. Okay, let's see what it says here. All right. Well, hang on. So what Dart file did it create for Android? All right. So what Dart file do I need to run for, what Dart file do I need to run for Android? Emulator. Okay. So what that's doing is should come back and tell me which one to go into Android Studio. Yeah, on that main.dart, it for in Android Studio, it does the first one, and I'll show you this. Run this. Okay, so it overwrote it. I've seen in the past, maybe I just had a problem. Okay. All right. Let's put that in Chrome and debug mode. My problem might have been last time. I think that was that time that I had the problem where it loaded the wrong one in the workplace. So I think you're right. Okay. Okay, so here it's loading it. Yep. Okay. So that one we already tested. All right. Yeah, you were right. Thank you. Let's see, device. Let's start that up. Open an iOS simulator. Probably should have done that earlier. Okay, so that's going to run that. Okay. So once that's up and running, it should show up here. Okay, there we go. Okay, let's see how it runs there. Okay. Over here, you can see it says launching. Now, by the way, let's see. Oh, yeah, you were right, Mo. You were correct on that. That was my bad. I think what happened to me was, like, the last time I did this, I had an error where I didn't by default, it stays into your last workspace that you were in, and it doesn't close it, even if you say open folder, which I think is weird in anti-gravity. I think it should just that should be the new default. That is running Xcode build. So Mo, have you done anything with like Firebase or just all done local, like Hive, or just used local databases? So as you can see over there, it's running the Xcode build. Okay. Well, I don't know if it's stuck or not. Oh, you worked in the yeah, it's way different now. I worked with that old stuff. That was a little convoluted, right? It was not now it's really nice. Google's has done a fantastic job in, like, just the last year of just passing everybody. Oh, here we go. So, okay, loaded our app, right? So let's do this. This is where we got the default, where it's like the template. Let's go ahead and copy that. There it goes, makes it active. We can open it. Let's see if the checkbox it's kinda weird the checkboxes never worked. That's also weird. Alright, well, the Xcode looks like it's like 99% there, not too bad for an app, right? Now let's go test that Pixel 9 Pro. Okay, there we go. Let's load it now on this. We'll make that full size. Yeah, the old Firebase, yeah, like you said, it was a bit of a pain. It was. It wasn't near as good, but the new Firebase it's awesome. So you can see this is loading up here. Let's see where we're at. Yeah, I don't know. If I had more time, honestly, I would go back into anti-gravity. I'm sure it could fix it. But, This was my second video for the night. I did another video. I used to be, we had a family channel on TikTok that was pretty big. We had like I don't know, 500,000,000 views. And so I just kinda wanted to do something more, IT related, so I started doing more, AI stuff, and I kind of fell in love with this vibe coding, you know? By no stretch of the imagination am I a professional. That's why you saw my main.dart screw up. Here it is. But it's just fun to learn. So it's really enjoyable. It's nice meeting new people too. Okay, so let's check this. There we go. Checkbox doesn't work. It's weird that add new item. Here we go. We'll say football. Add that to the list. And there we go. So, well, that's it. I'm sure anti-gravity could have fixed the checkbox. Everything I've tried, it's always been able to fix it. I appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. Nice to meet everyone. Uh, let's see. Yeah, now everyone can create. Yes, it is amazing time. So it's everybody can get rich. It's the modern day gold rush. I hope you go find your pain point and just go write an app for it because there's going to be a lot of rich people out there coming up. There's going to be an app for everything. That's going to be the hard part. Is it's just, I mean, getting your idea written is no longer the hard part. It's the hardest part is testing. The marketing and sales is gonna be the hard part. It's no longer writing the app, right? Where in the old days, it was like the barrier of entry was writing the app. Now it's sales and marketing. So, good luck to you. I hope some of you guys make $1,000,000 writing some of these apps, but there's gonna be a lot of rich people out there on these apps. So we live in crazy times. So, hey, I appreciate everybody tuning in. I'll do more of these lives. Like and subscribe to, on my channel too, if you don't mind. I plan on doing content like every day on this stuff. I love AI. I like doing this vibe coding. It's really enjoyable. So, all right, we'll talk to you guys later. Appreciate you the tuning in. Bye bye.